The Fox 5 I-Team reveals a field drug test kit that's popular among law enforcement officers actually turned out to be wrong more than 140 times across our state.
Now, that's just in 1 year. Now, false positives implicated innocent people who were jailed for felonies like drug possession and drug trafficking when they really had everyday items like air freshener or vitamins.
Well, Fox 5 I-Team reporter Randy Travis joins us now with his investigation that's become even more disturbing. Randy?
That's right, Russ and Sine. Earlier this year, our investigation of these field test kits pinpointed more than 30 false positives after we checked records at the Central Crime Lab. That lab found no drugs. So we expanded our investigation to examine cases at all 7 crime labs in the state and found field test failure statewide.
Where are you headed to tonight?
If you drive in Georgia, you could wind up the reluctant star of your own police dash cam video, just like this Villa Rica teenager.
Tell me again why you're so nervous.
A Douglas County deputy pulls you over for a minor traffic issue. In this case, failure to maintain lane. You just want to get back on the road.
Is there anything in that car that's illegal?
Sure, you've got nothing to hide. But if a cop relies on one of these, being innocent may make no difference.
What am I getting arrested? I'm going to explain something to you in just a second.
Can you believe this happened?
No, it's surreal. It is absolutely surreal. We were all devastated.
Police call them NIC tests, a cheap, fast way for a street cop to test for the presence of illegal drugs in the field. Drop some of the suspicious substance into the disposable packet, follow the directions, and watch to see whether the solution matches the color on the package. But even the box says don't take their word for it. All test results must be confirmed by an approved analytical laboratory.
But how often does a real lab reverse those field test findings? More than you might think. We obtained all the negative drug test reports from the GBI crime lab and then researched to see how many of those started with a positive field test. We confirmed 145 false positives in just 1 year, wrongly implicating Georgians of all races in all parts of our state. The test kits got it wrong 11 times for heroin, 24 times for ecstasy, 40 times for cocaine, 64 times for meth. All of those field test failures.
You got the right to remain silent?
One of those failures came on the Georgia Tech campus. Police found this bag of white balls in the car of a man stopped for driving with a suspended registration. He insisted it was simply packing material.
Why is it in a dime bag?
Sir, I promise, you can test it. I promise it's not anything. I have these gold teeth from the Halloween store, and that's what it is under the box. I promise you.
They tested it all right, twice. According to the officer's reading of the field tests, these came back positive for ecstasy.
What drug would that possibly be? Balls.
He went to jail on possession with intent to distribute. Charges later dropped when the crime lab found no controlled substances. In August, Georgia Tech police stopped using field tests. Our investigation found departments across Georgia making felony arrests, even though the suspect insisted what tested positive for drugs was actually drywall, soap, religious sand, weight gain powder, air freshener, candle wax. Each time the state lab ultimately determined no controlled substances, all charges dismissed.
As a parent, you feel powerless to prevent this from happening.
Brian and Erica Keel will never forget their teenage son's call that night from the Douglas County Jail.
They say I have drugs. And, Mommy, I don't have any drugs. Mommy, I didn't do anything.
The son of a federal prison chaplain and a school counselor had never been in trouble before. The family had just moved to Douglas County 2 weeks earlier. We played them the dash cam video.
That powdered substance right there in your car showed a positive response on a field test for methamphetamine. I had no idea what that was. So how am I supposed to know what's in your vehicle, sir?
So what this shows is that they was completely convinced with that test.
The family says what the field test claimed was meth was likely cleaning supplies left over from moving their daughter into a new apartment. There was no other evidence of drug use in the SUV. It would take 18 months before the case was ultimately dropped. Their son unable to get a summer job or travel out of state because of the pending felony.
So for 1.5 years, his life was in limbo.
Suspended, on hold. We need to make sure that we have true evidence, and those test kits are not true evidence.
Do you think your guys screwed up?
I don't think so. I don't think he had just that test kit to believe that there were narcotics in the car.
What else did he have besides a test kit?
Well, I mean, that's obvious if you watch the video that he had several things that would indicate that there were a potential that he was doing something wrong.
A guy who was nervous.
Well, he was nervous. He had an out-of-state license.
If they got arrested, right? Or they got stopped by...
Yeah, I agree with that.
We don't put people in jail when they're more nervous than usual, though, right?
Not at all.
Sergeant Jesse Hambrick started working drugs 25 years ago. Last year, the Douglas County Sheriff's Office bought a $30,000 handheld mass spectrometer to test for suspicious drugs in the field, reducing their dependence on the NIC tests. While he won't second-guess his deputy that night, he agrees it's a mistake for cops to hang all their probable cause on a $2 test kit.
As a narcotics investigator, that kit only confirms what I already know. But if we have officers out there that are not sure what they know and using that kit to confirm their suspicions, I mean, that's a whole different mentality.
A mentality that forgets the pain of the words felony, drug, arrest.
Hopefully law enforcement, if they see this, they'll think twice about making this type of decision with a test like this.
Well, they already are. Tomorrow night we show you how our investigation is already changing policy in some departments. They're actually, in cases like this we just showed you here, they're letting the person go and waiting for the crime lab to confirm the results before they make an arrest. They'll go find them several months later if it turns out they really were carrying drugs.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like the perfect resolution. It's not okay to have the charge dropped 18 months after the fact and say, oh, please go on your way.
Yeah, with maybe an apology if you're lucky. Yeah, $3,500 this family had to pay. They had to pay to get the SUV out of impound. They had to pay a bail bondsman. They had to pay an attorney. They had to pay for alcohol and drug screening while he was out on bond.
Wow.
And then we had to tell them that his record is still out there. You have to actually go out and get the department to expunge your record. Right. It's not done automatically if they drop the charges. People assume that, but it's on your record if someone wanted to do a background check on you later.
And all this after he was driving legally in his parents' SUV.
He was doing nothing wrong.
Crazy. All right. Thank you so much, Randy.
Thanks, Randy.